And I rarely drink water out the tap cause it's filthy.
Lentil soup is mental fruit and...
When was the last time you stopped to think about the one thing you can't live without? No, I'm not talking about the internet. I'm talking about water. Without clean drinking water, life couldn't go on. So it's probably important that we know what's in the water we drink. The practice of water fluoridation started at a time in history when asbestos, PCBs, and DDT were all deemed safe and effective. And although all of these chemicals have been banned since, fluoridation is still a common practice. In fact, most industrialized nations do not fluoridate their water, including Japan and 97% of Europe. So what exactly is it that we're ingesting? What's being added to municipal water supplies is a fluorine compound called hydrofluorosilicic acid, and it's a byproduct from the phosphate fertilizer industry. Yes, you heard me right. Let me break this down for you. Gaseous fluoride is produced during fertilizer production. Now, it used to go straight into the atmosphere from these factories, but presently, filtration devices are used to contain the toxic chemicals, and what's extracted from the filters is then condensed into a water-based solution, which is packaged unrefined and sold to city governments for the purpose of water fluoridation. So how did this all start?
Here's where it gets crazy. Sources report that Russians and Germans fluoridated water first, and not because of dental health. Instead, they believed it promoted passivity and lowered the number of guards needed in gulags and concentration camps. When the US began putting fluoride into the water supply, citizens across the country raised an uproar. But these protests still didn't stop fluoridation. So what happened?
Well, interestingly, in 1944, the American Dental Association themselves published that it was not worth the health risk to fluoridate water supplies. Too bad no one heeded their warning, because the very next year, Grand Rapids, Michigan became the first community to fluoridate. And what happened next would not have been possible without a push from the aluminum industry, which was looking for a way to safely discard their fluoride pollution and waste.
Pro-fluoride businesses and government agencies contacted the legendary father of public relations, Edward Bernays. Bernays was the original spin doctor and a nephew of Sigmund Freud, so proved his metal playing with the dark side of advertising, propaganda. Fluoride was just another opinion war. Instead of launching the usual ad campaign, Bernays contacted dental associations and had those dentists plug fluoride to their patients. Soon, fluoride was a matter of public debate. But the debate was uneven. It focused on the oral benefits of fluoride without mentioning its other effects, or even mentioning where fluoride comes from. Scientists paid by the industrial government coalitions only said that fluoride was safe at 1 part per million. Here's the kicker. After that dosage, fluoride is bad. Very bad. The potential dangers of this substance may far outweigh the dental perks. Exposure to fluorine can reduce IQ, damage teeth, and cause arthritis. Those brown spots on teeth aren't from not brushing. They may be from brushing too much. Using fluoridated toothpaste and drinking fluoridated water causes a condition called fluorosis. Both critics and supporters of fluoridation agree that fluoride is toxic after a certain threshold. It's potentially fatal. Yet even today, critics of fluoridation are blackballed when they go on the record about fluoride's harmful effects. Is there something your dentist doesn't want you to know? So if it's bad for us, why does it remain in the water supply? Why can't we talk about it in public? Most importantly, where does this fluoride come from? The hexafluorosilicic acid used in our water system is a byproduct of aluminum factories, fertilizer manufacturing, and atomic bombs. That's correct. The atomic bomb, which came into the public eye just as the US fluoridated water nationwide. Coincidence? According to some sources, declassified government correspondence states that the manufacture of atom bombs required millions of tons of fluoride. The government asked A-bomb scientists to generate safety studies that showed fluoride in a favorable light. Officials buried research into fluoride's effects on the central nervous system, despite evidence that these effects were both significant and dangerous. Consider the first on-the-job injuries and lawsuits in the atomic program were for fluoride exposure, not radiation poisoning. Imagine how much more cost-effective mass fluoride use becomes when no agency or business needs to worry about environmentally friendly disposal. Just chuck it into the water supply as a health benefit and avoid millions of dollars worth of safety checks, lawsuits, and disposal fees. If you're a large corporation, it's the deal of a lifetime. Sabotaging critics who won't go along with the scam is more than worth the expense.
I'd like to squeeze a tube down the CEO's throat and make him shut up.
Fast forward to today, where children are growing up indoctrinated with the notion that fluoridated water is necessary because it prevents tooth decay. But is that really the case? In 1987, the National Institute of Dental Research examined 39,000 school children from 84 different fluoridated and non-fluoridated communities. And while the study did find that in fluoridated areas tooth decay declined, the most interesting part is that there was a declining trend in tooth decay in non-fluoridated areas too, perhaps because of overall better hygiene. Okay, but not only is there no causal link, there's also serious health risks for fluoride overexposure.
If you happen to swallow more than is recommended for use with brushing, call poison control. Isn't that telling you something? That type of language border on insanity when you consider the fact that's what's found in 8 ounces of water.
For one, an excess of fluoride causes fluorosis, which is the eating away of the enamel on your teeth. This is indicative of what it's doing to your body on a larger scale. You see, it doesn't just eat away at the tooth enamel. Only 50% of the fluoride we consume is excreted. The rest is absorbed throughout our bodies, our pineal glands, and our bones. In fact, an alarming study by the U.S. Public Health Service, which was later confirmed by Harvard Medical School, found that a deadly type of bone cancer called Osteosarcoma was significantly higher in fluoridated communities than in non-fluoridated communities. However, the most distressing findings come from 18 studies done worldwide, showing a substantial lowering of IQ in overly fluoridated areas.
Back to the industrial waste plants. It don't even matter if it was used in concentration camps. The fact remains, fluoride is a poison used to attack your brains and put holes in your skull. Did you know that? It's the base compound found in your Prozac. And if you can't follow the speech, you're probably more docile than Dolly the sheep.
And there are many more adverse effects than just those. Not to mention that the FDA admits that fluoride is a drug, not a nutrient. Multiple ethical codes are being violated here by forcing us to ingest this drug.
Fluoride is the only medicine that is intentionally added to water. Fluoride is the only chemical that we add to water that doesn't actually treat the water. Chlorine, for example, is added to water to kill the bacteria, so that when we drink the water, we don't get sick. Fluoride, by contrast, is added to provide a medical treatment for a disease that is not caused by the water. Because fluoride is not a nutrient, the FDA has defined fluoride as a drug. As a matter of logic, adding fluoride to water to prevent tooth decay is a form of medication. In fact, this is a key reason why many European nations rejected fluoridation, because in their view, the water supply is not an appropriate way to deliver a medicine. Because with all other medicines, it is the patient, not the doctor, that has the right to decide which medications to take. Fluoridation denies people this basic right. Children today are receiving fluoride from many sources besides tap water. When fluoridation first began, there was not a single tube of toothpaste that contained fluoride. Today, if you go to a grocery store, it can be difficult to find any toothpaste that doesn't contain fluoride. In addition to toothpaste, many processed beverages and foods made in fluoridated countries also contain elevated levels of fluoride. This is because when you add fluoride to water, you don't just add fluoride to the water itself, you add fluoride to all of the foods and beverages that are made with that water. And there are other sources of fluoride as well, including fluoride pesticides, tea, Teflon pans, and some fluorinated pharmaceuticals. The concern today, therefore, is not just about the safety of fluoridated water by itself, but the safety of fluoridated water in combination with all of the other sources to which we're now exposed. Breast milk contains virtually no fluoride. By contrast, infants who consume fluoridated water in baby formula consume up to 700 to 1,200 micrograms per day, which is about 100 times more fluoride than the Institute of Medicine now recommends. According to the CDC, these early spikes of fluoride exposure provide no known advantage to teeth. These spikes can, however, produce harm. In July of 2012, a team of Harvard scientists warned that the developing brain may be another target for fluoride toxicity. The Harvard team based this warning on a large number of studies that have found reduced IQ scores among children exposed to elevated levels of fluoride during the early years of life.
Look, let's call it like it is.
Some will just write me off, conspiracy theorists, but the fact remains, truth stays the truth. There's a mass scale eugenics operation aimed at you. 9 out of 10 will be like, what's eugenics? And I'm like, oh, you know, the science of racial cleansing. That's some shit you need to look up when you get home.
Water fluoridation has nothing to do with said benefits. Think about it. We're already getting our fair share of this substance through the dentist and the toothpaste we use every day.
I'd like to squeeze a tube down the CEO's throat and make him shut up.
And what about the processed foods we're already eating and drinking on a daily basis? We get more than enough. So the argument that we need to ingest this substance as well is baseless. Look, guys, no matter what you think about fluoride, the real issue here is having a choice. No chemical, no matter what its alleged benefits are, should be forced upon the public without their consent. But let's not forget, as long as corporations are involved, our best interest isn't really the priority. So maybe we should be looking at water fluoridation as a money-making scam. It's a tale that's all too familiar. Governments and industry colluding to save money instead of saving lives.
It doesn't make any sense until you get this. They sell the food that is making us sick, and when we get sick, the very same people are selling us the medicine. It's a military, industrial / pharmaceutical and agricultural global complex that is taking control because we are letting them. You better wisen up to that it's safe for me. Can't you see they're killing us? With their chemical sprays and aspartame, with the Terminator seeds from the war machine, with the modified food we be eating all day. Can't you see it's killing us? Have you ever had toxins seeping through your pores, or heard of such a thing as a silent forest? How come the same people that made Agent Orange are growing up?
Coming up here today, I have no hidden agenda. I am fighting for my future. Losing my future is not like losing an election or a few points on the stock market. I am here to speak for all generations to come.